Hey, welcome to Smart, Fabulous, and Single. I'm your host, Trisha Ann. Today, I'm going into the chat room where I usually invite ladies to share their thoughts, personal experiences, and lessons learned in relation to this week's topic. The conversations are really eye-opening, and we usually uncover nuggets to help us live this single life like a boss. So, stick around for today's episode, and if you have any questions, email me at pod@sfswoman.com. Also, if you and or your girls want to be guests in the chat room, visit the Smart, Fabulous, and Single podcast page at www.sfswoman.com.
Welcome to the chat room. I'm so excited to have you join me so that we can talk about this topic of singleness. The idea of singleness either being a blessing or a curse. I've heard a lot of women talk about it in terms of how bad singleness can be, but I've heard others talk about it in terms of how good it is. Personally, I enjoy singleness, but it's not about me today. It's about my friends Maureen and Shari, and I'm excited to have them. And so we're just gonna chat. So, guys, tell me now, what you think, blessing or a curse, and why do you say that?
Well, for me, Trisha, for the most part, I believe that based on my experiences, being single has been a blessing for me, for the most part. I don't know if I should call it a downfall or for the other part, the lesser part of it, which I still wouldn't call it a curse. It's just the loneliness aspect of it, you know?
Okay.
And they sometimes, you kind of get anxious. Okay, your biological clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And so you just want to be able to start fulfilling your fairy tale, dream, and you just start. The older you get is the more you start. Your biological clock, as I said, just started ticking, and you just start thinking, okay, I need to achieve this, I need to achieve that, I need to get married, I need to have this kind of husband, I need to, and you just want it to be all perfect. I want to have 2 children at that age, and listen, everything. I had mine all fairy taled out. And can I tell you, Trisha and Shari, even though the way I had it, it was like almost the total opposite.
Really? Because you are married, right?
Yes.
How long you been married?
We've been married for almost 7 years now.
Woo, woo, go girl.
Yeah.
So when you say the opposite, what you mean?
Almost. Okay, for me, the way I wanted it, I wanted to get married in my middle 20s, naturally to a pastor or a minister or, one of those in church kind of thing. And it was all about ministerial purpose for me. And I also thought, okay, I'll get married to that type of man. And we'll then work towards our home. And by age 30, I'll be start having my children. And I'm going to be retiring at age 40, 45.
Oh, you had a long list.
Had a long list, guys. I'm 43, and do the math. I did not get married until less than 70 years ago. The truth is, I was not ready. And neither was my husband at the time. We weren't ready. We were together for a while. Neither of us were, we were ready. And just to say that, guys, marriage is a thing. I've learned you can't rush in it. Not that we rushed in it, but I'm glad I didn't. I have actually gotten engaged a few times before.
Oh, wow. To the same person?
In previous relationship. My first engagement.
Talk your business, my girl. Talk your business.
Yeah, my first engagement, I was 19 and I was so young, so naive, going to church and stuff. And I didn't know anything about relationship, and I prayed a lot about it and I really wasn't ready. And so I broke it off. Okay. And then I was proposed to again. And that just did not work. The person migrated. I was supposed to go, migrate as well. It just didn't work out. And so then my husband, he wanted us to get married early and we weren't ready again. He proposed and, it just wasn't the time. And because I did not feel fulfilled. And I realized then thank God, before I got married, that I really needed to feel fulfilled before I got married. because I'll be in trouble then, So there are spiritual things that I needed to gain. There is a sense of comfort and confidence that I needed to gain before I get married. And so I didn't fully gain it all, honestly speaking.
Right.
And so I walked into my marriage being more confident, and knowing who I am and understanding myself clearly. Well, much clearer, not totally, but much clearer. And I had a relationship with God.
But then, Maureen, what was the blessing? Because, okay, you told me there's a little bit of discomfort in singleness, and that was the loneliness. But what was it about your singleness that made you feel like, yeah, this is a blessing?
When I was single for, a while, first of all, I made the decision to be single. I wanted to be single because when you start dating someone, the whole physical admiration and all of that, and it can get carried away sometimes and lead you to fornicate. And being a Christian, I tried to prevent committing sins, including fornication. I tried very hard to stay away from that. And heartbreaks, the pain of that, which I had experienced before, I didn't want to go through that again. When you're single and you live alone and you're in your own little space, you're young and you work and you Miss Independent kind of attitude and you work to achieve, and you purchase your bed and you purchase a little stuff. You feel good being in your own little space and you're looking at the stuff that you're little by little achieving. You can do anything you want. You can have your time of worship and just take over your house. You can go to your bed late. You can be up. You can do anything you want. You're free. Not that when you're married, you're trapped. But it's just a different kind of life, It's a total different kind of life when you're married,
Right.
And so when you're single, you have a different kind of freedom that if you really like to be alone, you're going to love that kind of freedom.
I get you.
And for the most part, I loved being alone. I am a person then, I used to stay up late. I used to pray late. It was just a lot of fun for me because I enjoyed being single. I enjoyed watching a movie alone. I enjoyed, doing stuff alone. I enjoyed going out when I want to go.
Right. The kind of
For all of that.
responsibility that comes with marriage. You weren't ready for that yet.
I wasn't ready for it. I was enjoying just getting to know me.
Yes.
And I had issues. Yeah, and on top of it, I had issues. I had emotional issues that from my younger stage, that from I was a teenager, that I needed to get over with, And
okay, I get you.
I didn't want to be settled and committed in a relationship, and that wouldn't be balanced,
Right.
for me. And I also really wanted. I've always wanted to have this relationship with God, be used by God,
Right.
And so I wanted not to miss those kind of opportunities.
What I'm getting from you is singleness was a blessing. You really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's only when, the thought process started to change, you started to feel a little lonely, and then you're like, okay, well, now I'm in a better place anyway. Let me get married now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And after you dealt with all the emotional stuff and stuff. But Shari, what about you? How would you describe singleness? Blessing or curse?
I believe my single experience has been a bit of both. I used to struggle with feeling a little less because, my friends around me and everybody had a significant other. My friends are getting married or they're having kids. And then, I'm 29 and so what's happening, Shari? What's happening with your life? Most persons always approach you. You're single. Oh, you're not married yet. Stuff like that. And at first, it used to let me feel like, oh my God, I'm not getting my life together. It's not happening. Why isn't it happening? I'm tired good enough. So I took it personal until I got to the place of understanding that some persons become successful in life at a young age and it happens for some at an older age, and it doesn't lessen any one of them. It just happens differently for everyone. And I had to understand where I'm at mentally as well. Am I really prepared for a relationship? Am I really prepared for marriage? Have I really gotten over a lot of my emotional struggles or a lot of emotional hurts that I've been through? So when I got to that place of understanding that this is more preparation, this is more spending some time with me and God and allowing God to pour within me, then it became a blessing to me. But it officially felt like a curse at first, to be honest.
Wow, here we have both Maureen and Shari, but two different experiences, which is quite okay, meaning everybody goes through life differently. But we have two completely different experiences. And I can just imagine women out there, some going, yeah, that's how I felt, the way Shari felt, because everybody around me is married or has a boyfriend or has children or whatever. Or others feeling like Maureen, like, no, I'm in my own space. I need my space. You know what I mean? And I can identify with both, actually. There was a point in time when I felt like singleness was a blessing, but then there was a point where things weren't happening fast enough. So I kind of understand where you're both coming from. But Maureen, you were talking about the thought process changing. What do you mean by that? And I think, Shari, you kind of alluded to a similar thing, but in a different way. So let me hear Maureen, and then I'll come back to you, Shari.
For me, as you grow, you look at life differently naturally. And I become more aware of my biological clock. And I also became more aware of my purpose, my future. And then, you start getting kind of a little bored of what you were then, and you go home to an empty house, the empty space, and then you start feeling that way internally. And you still go to church, you still try to dig deep and try to, and you still try to, maintain this connection with God. But it's just that I felt that there was a void, like something was missing. And it's so funny during that time, because even my friends, Maureen, you need to start socializing. You're getting old. You need to, they're like, you're getting old. You need to this, you need to that. And I'm like, I don't need anybody. I'm not interested. And so when I met my husband, we just connected. We connected, but different things happened in our relationship. We weren't ready. And then eventually we realized, we are ready, and we just slowly, and can I tell you, everything we just went into slowly. We did it slowly because we didn't want to say at the end of the day that, listen, this is a mistake. But we didn't do it all right. We still took it slowly. Oh, and I said why we didn't do it all right, because what I know now about singleness through the books about how to date and stuff like that. I didn't go through all of I struggled. So eventually it wasn't peer pressure. I just felt like I needed something else. And I love children. And I thought about, okay, I start having my children and just want to really have my family, because I am a family oriented person. So my family by my mother and father side, they are family people. So I just wanted to have that kind of connection, and I just felt the need of wanting a partner.
Right.
So,
well, what I've heard both you and Shari say is that there's some kind of level of preparation that has to take place for you to get to that place of comfort in both your singleness and for you in the transitioning from singleness to marriage.
Right.
I find that very interesting. Like, Shari, for you're not married. Are you dating right now?
No, I'm not dating at the moment. I'm just in waiting.
You're in waiting. I like that, yes. Shari. I love that.
I believe there is some needed preparation for it. I feel there's so many resources, there's so many persons that can show you, from their testimony, how they prepared to be married, different things within yourself that you have to work on. So what I do is I don't take it for granted that you have to, that's saying that says study to show thyself approved. I believe that we have to do what's necessary to get it as well, to be prepared for it as well, because I really want a good marriage. I always wanted one that's going to be romantic. I'm not sure what God has in store for me, but that's what I really would want. I want it to be a testimony to others. God has also given me that prophetic word, so I'm trying to work that out within myself so that I can have that within my own marriage.
That sounds fantastic. So pretty much, if there's a young lady out there who is feeling like singleness is a curse, would you say then, Maureen and Shari, that this is the time for her to be just working out stuff in her, working out her emotions, coming to that place of peace in herself before she rushes into marriage, and not necessarily take on the emotions of loneliness and this cursed feeling, because the reality is rushing into marriage has its own challenges, even when it is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Okay, you must be comfortable with you. You can't just overnight love you. As a child, you don't know you. As a teenager, you're just starting to get to know you. As a young adult, you're still in the process of getting to know you.
Right.
And for some people, it's faster. Some people, it's slower. And so you must reach to a point where you feel like you can love you outside of wanting somebody else's love. You must be at a point. Yeah, you must be at a point where you feel like you can survive without somebody else's attention or affection. And so this is where you, throughout this, I encourage all single women and men, focus on you. If you are having trouble focusing on you, get help. Whether you want to get help from a church, you do not want to get help from your church. Right now, technologies and so many things are out there right now, so much than it was 20 years ago when I needed it and couldn't get it. So you have to, for your sake, so you can make the right decisions, because marriage is a permanent thing. You must find every means possible to focus on you. Google things, YouTube things, learn how to love you. That is far more important than anything else, because if you skip and pass that main process and then go into marriage, you're going to have every issue there is with the person.
Right.
Thinking that he or she is at fault with everything. You cannot see yourself, and you're never going to take responsibility.
I love that. I really love that. I love that advice.
Yeah.
So perhaps the next thing to ask then is, how do we deal with the loneliness and the fact that we do want to date and we do want to get married, but we're probably not at the best place to do so? Like Shari, how do you deal with that?
How I deal with loneliness is I got myself an accountability. I believe everyone needs accountability. You need someone that, you can be accountable for your actions. I'm feeling this way today. I'm going through this, and I can reach out to my accountability, and we can talk about it, and she can tell me, okay, this is what I did. This is how I got through it. As well as making myself accountable. You just have to get to the place where you realize, okay, God, I'm serving you. This is what I choose to do, whether this is what the world is saying, this is what my friends are saying, or this is what the media is saying. I choose to walk the street. And so you really have to get to that place of deciding within yourself that I am going to hold out to marriage and I'm worth it. And God has told me that several times over and over, Shari, you are worth it. And I have the person that will wait for you and will not allow you to feel like you have to compromise, which has been a big struggle for me when I start dating someone, even if they're a Christian, and then they tend to want you to compromise. And I'm like, God, is this next to impossible? Like, is there somebody out there that's just willing to wait? Somebody out there that's just not going to allow you to compromise, that will value you? So I'm just in waiting right now with God, because I know God has someone that's not going to try to get me to compromise. I've always wanted a relationship where we could just date, we build each other, then from there we can have, a sexual sexual relationship. I've always wanted that. That's the reason I've always admired Megan Good and Devon Franklin for that. And I always said, God, this is what I'd want, because I believe that you have set it this way for such a reason. You know, whenever you compromise, it's just downhill from there. And I can say that it's just downhill from there because it pulls you away from God. You have that guilty feeling coming before God. You're not feeling, 100%. Like, you're praying and you're feeling guilty, like, I wonder if God going to answer me. You have all sorts of doubts, and God doesn't want that. That's the reason why God doesn't want us to sin so much, because of that guilt that comes with it. So remaining vigilant and sober is needed as well, because we understand that deception is real. Whenever a prophetic word is given, it's also tried, it's also tested. A lot of the times what a lot of us experience is the prophetic word is given, or your husband is coming and the enemy is sending someone as well. So you really have to remain in prayer. You need to even draw closer at this time to God. And your accountability. You need to have whoever you're dating put to your accountability. Your accountability needs to know this person and also sift them out. I'm never going to be dating someone else that's not put to my accountability, that they can also sift this person out to say me, Shari, I feel like this is the will of God, but I also have a responsibility to know for myself, but I do want to put it to someone that I'm accountable to. I think that is very important.
So before I go back to Maureen, Shari, who is this accountability partner that you keep talking about? Is it a friend or a pastor or a counselor? Like, who is that person? How did you decide that this would be your accountability partner?
So she's a pastor. I got a dream about her and told her the dream, and she started to just counsel me about different emotional wounds that I had, and she has been through a lot that I've been through as well. So she has already walked my path, so she could help me to get through something smoother. She would pray with me as well and help me to see, she just helped me with different strategies on how to overcome things. She also came to me and said, Shari, I'm going to be your accountability. Whenever you need accountability, I'm here. I'm going to do that for you. That was confirmed to me, and it was confirmed to her.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah. So Maureen, you said you started out feeling that singleness was a blessing, right? But eventually your perspective changed, and the loneliness, you didn't want to be alone anymore. You wanted somebody to share with. In that transition period between feeling that way and actually getting married, how did you manage the process? So that it didn't become overwhelming.
Okay, everything wasn't okay the moment we started dating. And that in the meantime part, we both realized that there are things that we wanted, to build on. I needed to some self-development, some time for self-development. I needed to develop more emotionally. My emotions were wacky. I needed to be more mature spiritually and emotionally. It was also what I also use it as, and even though I'm explaining all of these points, I didn't get it all correct at all times, but I tried. It was a time of correcting my weakness or my weaknesses, my different personalities. And I can tell you guys that you see, when you're getting older, when you're moving from a teenage stage going to a young adult, and you're taking it in different phases of your life, you find out some things about you that you didn't know that exist.
Are those good things or not so good things?
Both good things and not so good things.
Okay, I get you.
You understand? And you're like, that could come out of me, and you don't want it in you, and you don't want to walk with that into marriage. Some of them you do, but some you try to avoid it, So I needed to develop on my weaknesses, and I needed to be healed. I didn't heal on all aspects, when I was getting into my marriage, but for the most part, yes, I did. For the most part, I did. There are wounds and hurts from your childhood for some persons. The truth is, you need to be healed from that. seek some guidance at church, or, a church is the best place, hallelujah, to get spiritual healing. I got it through the help of my church, Fellowship Tabernacle. Woo, woo. It's also a period that the Lord takes you through these processes. You must adopt it. You must adopt it, and you must realize that you must practice self-control and be disciplined. That's very important. Throughout that time, I also had to, this is what I found that I struggled with, to build relationships. I realized that throughout that time, I didn't want to be much of a people person. I was more of a loner. Nevertheless, it is a time where if you're not a people person, you must learn how to build relationships, because you're going to walk into your marriage with that. And that is what's going to actually help you learn how to build on your own relationship with your spouse. So
hold on a moment, Maureen. You're telling me, I just want to be sure that I understand. What you're saying is, because you had become so independent and you loved being alone, you weren't so good at building relationships, and so you had to learn in order to go into marriage?
At that time, through that phase or that process, I just became very quiet. I was going through the whole emotional part of it, and I was going through the whole changes. So I became quiet. So I had to force my way out of it to build relationships. So even in my own relationship with my partner at the time, we had to build, because there were that's a teeth and tongue meat. So we had to learn how to build our own relationship with each other, and we had to listen. That was important. We had to get that part first,
right?
Because you can't say, okay, God will do it. And this is what happens a lot. I'm getting married, but God will do it. No, you have a responsibility.
Okay. So it's not just I get married and God will do everything. So God doesn't do everything. We have a responsibility as well.
A responsibility, and that's how we're going to learn.
Right.
And that's how we're going to learn.
And in that responsibility, there are some things that we have to do up front before we even determine whether or not this is the marriage for us. And when we do get into it, there are some things we have to work out before we even get into it.
Right. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Is there anything else you want to add, ladies, about blessing or curse?
I do.
Blessing or curse. Yes, Shari. Tell me.
I'm no longer just accountable to my accountability. I'm accountable to my girls as well, and to the persons watching me. There's so many other broken women. There's so many other women that's going through, a period of singleness. And I found that a lot of persons are looking up to me. I was kind of shying away from it. I was like, God, I'm not ready yet. All these persons, look up to me so much and respect me so much. And I'm like, God, I don't want to fail them. So I'm also accountable to do what's right, to get this right, to be a testimony, to know that it's okay to wait. It's good to seek God. It's, believe that a lot of us have a lot of unresolved trauma from when we were growing up. And day number 7 of my healing process, which was for 21 days, I had to spend that day, apologizing to the girl within me. And I had to allow God to pour that love within me to say, okay, it really wasn't your fault. You don't have to carry all the guilt. I allowed a lot of it to mold you, but it was never my doing, because sometimes we do get angry with God. We say, God, okay, you could have prevented this. I mean, seriously, God, you could have prevented this. And I struggled with that a lot. Healing the girl within me restored a lot of relationships that was not going well for me. Healing is also intentional, and I'll tell anyone that, coming from a perspective of just always praying, God, I forgive them, I release them. It's also being intentional. You have to decide that I'm forgiving, I'm letting this go. It's not holding me captive. It's a decision. And only then will you feel that freedom, and that resentment will go. My resentment has gone for so many persons that I used to struggle with having resentment towards. And it's a beautiful experience, because when I talk to them now versus then, I don't feel that level of hurt or resentment. I don't have such a negative emotional reaction. I don't feel so vengeful anymore. I believe that one of the things too, when going into marriage, a lot of your relationships If you have a lot of bad relationships with, say, family members, a lot of that, because those things may signify as red flags to your partner as well. Because how are you going to resolve how are you going to resolve conflicts with your husband if you can't resolve it with other persons or with other family members or with other close family members as well? So I believe that preparing me for marriage, God has also helped me to resolve a lot of relationships that went bad as well.
Which is a part of building relationship.
Right, which is what you spoke about earlier, Maureen. Okay, great. Maureen, anything else that you want to add before we close out?
Absolutely. One of the things that I wanted to say that in all of that, in the meantime process, you can't go wrong with, you have to give yourself fully to Christ. Give the service, be a kingdom citizen, because 1 Corinthians 7 verses 32 to 33, it speaks that, I don't know, I want to just go ahead and read it. Can I read it?
Sure, go ahead.
1 Corinthians 7, 32 to 33, but I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. 33, but he that is married careth for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. In other words, then give all while you are not married to God, just be of service in his kingdom, because when you get married, you are going to be of service to your partner.
Right.
Every way, and that is also being of service unto God. However, the focus will be on your partner, Can't go wrong with that, because trust me, when you give unto God, he giveth back unto you. He blesses you.
Right.
He blesses your heart's desire. He blesses your marriage. He blesses everything surrounding you. He helps you to find peace, comfort. He answers your requests.
Well, I absolutely loved this chat. I mean, I could identify with some of what you were saying, this thing about singleness being a blessing, and in that time you can find your purpose and you can become a better you, and you can shape yourself, mold yourself, deal with some emotional baggage and stuff like that in order to be the person you need to be in order to step into marriage. And then I can see where you're coming from, particularly Shari, where it can feel like a curse if, you don't yet have handle on the loneliness and the desire. Like you say, Maureen, because I'm 45, I'm just 2 years older than you are. And girl, I'm ready to be married. Yes, so I can understand that, because I am at that place at 45. I still believe that I can have children, and I still certainly want to be married. So I can understand not necessarily the struggle, but the dichotomy between blessing and curse. But I do hope that the ladies listening into this, that you will take something away that will cause you to see singleness as more of a blessing. That time where you're going to spend on being a better you and becoming better prepared for marriage. And even if you are not thinking of getting married, certainly to be a better you, because being a better you will have implications, as Maureen said, for building relationships. And if I want to take it a step further, it will have implications for even how well you do in business or on your job or just in your daily interactions, because we are all here to ensure that everybody that we encounter becomes better for encountering us. So girls, thanks for being in the Smart, Fabulous and Single chat room. I absolutely loved it. I absolutely love the takeaways, and I absolutely love the idea that singleness can be a blessing, and we can turn things around and move away from it being a curse to a blessing. So thanks. Love you. And we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Shari, and thanks, Maureen.
Thank you for listening to Smart, Fabulous, and Single. If you loved it, please subscribe, rate, and give a review. Head over to our website at sfswoman.com to access show notes and other fantastic bonus content and resources. You can also sign up to join the conversation in our Facebook group. And if you want to be a guest or want to share topic ideas, email me at pod@sfswoman.com. So, thanks again, and don't forget to join me for new episodes Mondays to Fridays. Remember, what you have on the inside of you is far greater than your circumstances, weaknesses, and fears, so you already have everything you need to live life successfully. Until next time, love you. Thank you for listening to Smart, Fabulous, and Single. If you loved it, please download, subscribe, rate, and share it. Then head over to our website at www.sfswoman.com to access show notes and other fantastic bonus content and resources, and to sign up as a guest. You can also sign up to continue the conversation in our Facebook group. If you want to share topic ideas, email me at pod@sfswoman.com. Okay, so thanks again, and don't forget to join me for new episodes Mondays to Fridays. You can also connect with me on FB and IG at Smart, Fabulous, and Single. And remember, what you have on the inside of you is far greater than your circumstances, weaknesses, and fears. So you already have everything you need to live life successfully.